Hey everybody, Mr. Ferrante here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create the handle for your foldable stool project. This is my example here, and the way you're going to be doing that is via the wood lathe. Okay, the wood lathe is a very fun machine to use. However, there are a few steps. A, to setting up and creating the stock for the handle, and B, actually setting up the lathe. In this video, I'll go over both, and basically at the end of it, you should know how to create the handle and use this machine appropriately and safely. So the first thing you need to do is obviously find a piece of wood so you can actually start creating your handle. Most common is to use a piece of 2x4. I've got a lot of those underneath the softwood section. So if you open one of these up, you can actually see, as long as it's nice and organized, all these pieces of wood are good for your handle. All right. Now, if you want to, you're more than welcome to use hardwood as well. However, you must ask me before using it. What we can do is we can actually glue up a pattern into our handle. A few people have done small patterns, whether it's just stripes going through or stripes going across. You're more than welcome to use different types of wood and glue up a handle rather than one solid piece. However, the most simple and easiest way to creating your handle is just find a piece of scrap 2x4. All right, and basically your dimensions are going to be 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches, so 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. And what I would recommend doing, especially if you have a piece this short, this is pretty short, I would bandsaw it. It doesn't matter if this is all crooked, that doesn't matter. What matters is the dimensions are as close to 1.5 inch by 1.5 inches possible. The lathe is going to get rid of all the jagged edges from the bandsaw. So do not worry about that. It's a lot safer to cut this on the bandsaw than on the table saw because of how short this piece is. Okay, if you find a long piece, you're more than welcome to just table saw it. All right. I've got a piece here. It is actually slightly smaller than 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches, but that is okay. Just for the purpose of this video, I'll use it. So once you have it at 1.5 inches thickness and 1.5 inches width, so a perfect nice square, what you're going to want to do is cut it to 4 1/4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark it at 4 1/4. Now the instructions might say 4 1/8. That's not what you want to do. 4 1/8 is slightly too short, and if it becomes too long, we can always sand down the handle on the disc sander afterwards. So 4 1/4 is right here. Okay, that's fine. Then what I'll do is I'll just take my square and I'll draw a nice line across. So 4 1/4 inch. Or 4 marks right there. Basically that tells you that that's ready to grab onto the spur when it's on the lathe. All right. Would you look at that? We've got the piece of wood on here and it's actually floating in air a little bit. Just kidding. The spur is so well driven in that the thing is pretty much only supported by half of the lathe. However, for us to actually start turning, we need to have the live center in on the other side. So remember when I said to mark the other side with an X? Well, I did that, and what you're going to want to do is drive the live center into the middle of that X. Before you do that, we need to make sure that the tailstock, so this here is the tailstock, is completely locked down so it's not going to move. That's using this lever. Make sure that that's nice and locked. Next is we need to actually move the live center into the center, and that's using this right here. So we're going to turn this, and you'll watch this start to go in, and you're going to want a nice tight fit. So you'll see I'll actually have to start spinning this like that. All right. Before we do anything else, we need to make sure that everything else is locked, so we can just lock it that. Okay. And then do the wiggle test. So the wiggle test is just shaking this back and forth a little bit, seeing if there's any wiggle. There's no wiggle because this thing's pretty much set up perfect. All right. You've got two options when choosing out your lathe tools for turning your handle. Number one is the roughing gouge. As you can tell, the roughing gouge is pretty round over. Probably the con about it is that it has these corners on them. You do not want to catch the piece of wood on those corners. It will cause kickback. Now, this is a go-to tool, especially when I'm using something larger. If I was turning a bowl, maybe even something hardwood, this is the tool. More popular amongst grade 9s, or if you're turning your handle out of softwood, is the round nose scraper. Round nose scraper, pretty fun to use, doesn't really catch a whole lot, and it's pretty easy to use as well because you can actually turn left to right a little bit more than with this one. One thing I want you to make sure of is that you have that bevel or that cutting edge facing up. Please do not have it flipped over like that. That's not what you want. You want it to be flipped like this. Two options for turning your square handle round. Let the tool do the work. So I'm going to rest it on here and just go right in like that, and I go left to right. Turn it off here. So as you can see, starting to get round here, which is totally okay. What you want to do is pretty much stop once the piece of wood is completely round. You have a lot of options when it comes to designing your handle and what you want to do. At this point, it's all creativity based. It's up to you what you want to do. The only recommendations I have, two of them actually. A, please don't leave it round like this. Okay, this is pretty plain, this is pretty boring. Have something with some creativity. It could be finger grooves, it could be something like a honeycomb style. You can use different tools for this. I'll create something here and I'll show it to you in a second. Two, one recommendation, actually this is not a recommendation, this is what I need you to do. Please make sure that you measure maybe 1/4 of an inch from this side and 1/4 of an inch from that side. Leave this completely round. So do not turn those ends. We want to leave those as round as possible. The reason being is it should match nice and perfectly with our seat supports and stool legs on our stool. If it becomes too small, it does look a little out of place and it becomes too thin. You can turn the middle in between these 2 points to whatever you want. Okay, don't make it too thin, obviously, but that's where you have the room to play. But leave these ends as wide of a circumference as possible. So I've done this with a pencil. Okay, I actually marked it out and then turned on the lathe and then used the pencil to make the marks and the lines, and also shade in where I will not be turning, and then everywhere else, so these lighter parts are where I will be turning. Basically, this design, we'll use a couple tools that I'll see if I can find in the lathe tool board, and then I'll come back right after and show you the finished results. So, got an interesting design here. I thought I'd just try it out. I think this would be a pretty cool lathe handle. Definitely style points if you're going to do something like this. However, like I mentioned, you're more than welcome to keep something simple. If you want to do just a simple finger groove, just something that is going to feel nice in your hand when you're holding the stool, you're more than welcome to do that. Just please do not keep it just a round cylinder. I definitely want you to do some sort of design on it so you can get the practice of laying out a design and actually turning it and using other lathe tools other than the rough and gouge or the round nose scraper. If you have any questions about any of those tools in the lathe tool cabinet over there, you're more than welcome to come and ask me. I'd be more than happy to show you a couple of tools that you can use, but please just kind of figure out a design you'd want to do before coming up to me and asking me what tools you might want to use, okay? Pretty much all the tools are fairly standard and kind of work the same way, except your carbide tools. However, I'm more than happy to show you how to use those if you want to use them. So, next step would definitely be sanding and putting a finish on it. If you're going to sand, you sand on the lathe. Please make sure that you move the tool rest out of the way before you sand, and make sure that you have the sandpaper on top of the piece of wood, not around the bottom of it. You definitely don't want to get anything caught. You definitely don't want to put your hand or arm over or underneath the lathe. Please make sure the sandpaper is on top, okay? And then you're more than welcome to go and finish it. Just make sure that you clean up everything and you put all your lathe tools away, all right? Well, thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys have a fun time using the wood lathe, and if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask me or come back and check this video out in class or after class. I'll catch you guys next time.